All right, moving on to Dresden for the overall recap, first impressions, thoughts. Okay, Dresden, Germany. I have mixed feelings. The city center was gorgeous. So Dresden was completely bombed out in World War II. And instead of rebuilding it in the modern, like, think Berlin style, there was a secret donor that donated millions to have Dresden restored in its former glory. So, I mean, it looks very Baroque, how it did pre-World War II. I feel like my trip was a little bit jaded because there was a ton of construction. I mean, massive site right outside my hotel room. One of the most pretty palace parks, completely demolished. I mean, if you saw those stories, you know what I'm talking about. So I mean, that might have like jaded my experience a little bit, but I do feel like overall, like the old town city center, again, you can explore that in like an hour. And there is a cool museum that has a bunch of like jewels and like precious items. Jake would have hated it, but like I liked it because I like looking at the crown jewels and whatnot. But yeah, there's just not much to do there. So I had 4 nights, which was way too long. So I did a couple day trips. I went to Gorlitz, Germany, which was cool, and Glorious Bastards was filmed there, and you can actually cross the bridge and go over to Poland. So that was, interesting. And then, and I will say Gorlitz was charming, but again, like, kind of like I wouldn't go out of my way to visit there, but it was much more enjoyable to walk around than Dresden because I feel like there's a little bit more to walk around, whereas Dresden is just that tiny city center, the old town, and once you leave that, it's very blah. And then I also did a day trip to Leipzig. Again, like, wasn't super impressed. I mean, it seems like it's more of like a living city, which is cool and all, but I mean, it was okay. Again, I wouldn't go out of my way to visit there. So kind of like I was in Dresden and I'm looking around kind of thinking this was very poor planning. I have no idea how I'm going to spend 4 days there. So I ended up, kind of working a bit and long morning jogs and whatnot. But one thing that was nice about Dresden is it definitely had a very European crowd. Like, you could tell there are not a lot of American tourists. It was pretty much Europeans that were visiting. So, I mean, that was cool. So overall thoughts on Dresden. I mean, I don't know, if you're looking for something that's off the beaten path, you love Baroque architecture, and you can easily fit it in where you're only spending a night there before you're moving on to something else, I think it's worth a quick stop, but I wouldn't spend more than 1 or 2 nights there, and I wouldn't go out of your way to visit. So that's my thoughts on Dresden.